bloodstream, that is the arteries, the bloodstream, capillaries. Okay, so this is one parietal cell. So the main reaction that goes on is water combines with carbon dioxide in the presence of an enzyme which is Ca, that is carbonic anhydrase, and this is carbonic anhydrase type 2. It is carbonic anhydrase type 2 enzyme, so it is Ca2. So when this reaction occurs, it forms carbonic acid H2CO3, and that dissociates into hydrogen ion and bicarbonate. Okay, and this hydrogen ion is then pumped. It is not going through the electrochemical concentration gradient. It has to be pumped. It has to go against the electrochemical gradient. So the proton or the hydrogen ion is pumped into the lumen, okay, of the stomach. So this is done with the help of hydrogen potassium ATPase, that is proton pump. This is the proton pump. Okay, it will take one proton ion, one proton to the lumen of the stomach, and one potassium will get inside. And at the same time, we must take into consideration that the bicarbonate that is formed inside the parietal cell, that is sent to the blood, to the capillary by the help of bicarbonate chloride exchanger. These are the two things that you need to know. One is about the proton pump, okay, which pumps the proton to the lumen of the stomach, and another is bicarbonate chloride exchanger, which sends the bicarbonate ion, which exchanges the bicarbonate ion in the bloodstream for chloride ion. Okay, is this clear to all of you? This reaction on the right hand side of the screen. Can you follow? Yes, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'll repeat once again. This is one parietal cell or one oxyntic cell. Okay, why do we need to know about oxyntic cell? Because we studied that oxyntic cell produces intrinsic factor and hydrochloric acid, HCl. So how is HCl produced? This is the favorite question of all the examiners every time. So HCl secretion, how it is produced? The answer to it is in the parietal cell of the stomach, carbon dioxide and water, they combine in presence of the enzyme carbonic anhydrase 2. Okay, carbonic anhydrase 2. You being the student should not write the short form. You can write a small short form here, but down you have to write the full form. Ca stands for carbonic anhydrase 2. Okay, so carbon dioxide and water combine in presence of carbonic anhydrase 2, and they form carbonic acid H2CO3, which dissociates into hydrogen ion and bicarbonate. Hydrogen ion, this is the proton. Hydrogen ion is pumped to the lumen by the help of a proton pump, that is hydrogen potassium ATPase. It is ATPase because it involves the expenditure of energy. Energy has to be utilized. Energy has to be used so that proton is pumped against the electrochemical gradient. It is not going from higher to lower concentration. It has to be pumped. That's why the ATP is used. Okay, the energy currency is being used. That's why it is also called hydrogen potassium ATPase. This is how hydrogen ion enters the lumen. But we should not forget that for every proton ion, for every proton that is being produced in the lumen of the stomach, there is one bicarbonate ion which is going to the blood side. Okay, this is by the help of chloride bicarbonate exchanger. And as the bicarbonate enters in the capillary, you'll see that when we take food, okay, when we take food, at that time HCl secretion is increased, isn't it? At the same time, bicarbonate amount is also increased in the blood. HCl secretion is increased in the lumen of the stomach, but bicarbonate level is increased in the blood. Okay, so this is known as postprandial alkaline tide. Alkaline tide means alkali, the bicarbonate negative ion is increased, isn't it? And tide because it is the surge, it is the increase, and postprandial because it occurs after taking the food. So it is also known as postprandial alkaline tide. This is very common question in your exams and favorite of your examiners. So I hope you followed this picture, the right hand side of this slide. Okay. And then on the left hand side, this is regarding the pepsinogen. Pepsinogen is the inactive form. It gets activated into pepsine, the active form in the lumen of the stomach by the help of HCl. Okay. So, are you clear about how HCl is being produced? Are you clear? Yes, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. So, put a VIMP in your notes, okay, for gastric secretion. It is very, very famous question for your exams. And now, let's focus on this one cell, this red one. Can you see in the slide? The red cell, parietal cell, it is written here, isn't it? So this is in the fundus region of the stomach. Let's see. There's so many chemicals working on it, isn't it? There's so many things coming here. So let's take one at a time. The main thing that we need to know about this HCl secretion is how HCl secretion is regulated. Okay, this one which we studied is how it is secreted. Then we have to know how it is regulated. Regulation is always in two forms. One is neural regulation, that is being regulated by the nerves. Okay. Another is hormonal regulation, that is it is being regulated by the hormones. Okay, there is always two levels of regulation. One is neural regulation, the other is hormonal regulation. Please keep in your mind that there is always, whenever you are asked in question regarding any secretion in the GIT, you have to remember that there is neural regulation and hormonal regulation. Okay, and neural regulation being the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nerves for any GI secretion, whether it be salivary secretion, whether it be gastric juice secretion, that is HCl secretion, or pancreatic juice secretion, when there is sympathetic nervous system stimulation, when there is sympathetic stimulation, secretion is increased, the secretion is raised. Okay, whereas rest and digest, where in a mode of rest and digest is when there is parasympathetic nervous system stimulation. At that time, what happens? The GI secretions are increased. All GI secretions are increased. Okay, so HCl secretion will also be increased. Pancreatic secretion will also be increased. Okay, so here we are talking about gastric juice HCl secretion. So do remember that when there is sympathetic stimulation, secretion increased. But when there is parasympathetic stimulation, HCl secretion is increased. So this completes your neural regulation, isn't it? Now coming to what is remaining, hormonal regulation. For we have to take into consideration hormones like gastrin. Gastrin we studied a little while ago that produced G cells, the enterocrine cells of the stomach, isn't it? So gastrin is produced not in the lumen of the stomach, but it is produced in the blood, isn't it? As it is a hormone, so it will be in blood. So see, when gastrin comes through the blood and it acts and it has a receptor, the gastrin has got, see this red one. This red one is the capillary. This is a vessel, okay, and G is the gastrin that is coming, okay. Gastrin, it binds with its receptor here, G. It binds with its receptor in the parietal cell, and when it binds with its receptor, it causes the stimulation of hydrogen ion. It causes a secretion of the metal. Okay, so you should also know that when there is parasympathetic stimulation, at that time, when there is parasympathetic stimulation, the vagus nerve stimulation, or the parasympathetic nervous system stimulation, the vagus nerve is the parasympathetic nerve. Okay, it has got muscarinic receptor on the parietal cell. It causes by the help of the cyclic AMP, second messengers, it causes increased HCl secretion. Okay, there are various second messengers. Some are G stimulatory, some are G inhibitory, okay, like that. So we must remember that there is histamine, ECL cells, okay. ECL cells are enterochromatin-like cells. They produce histamine. So histamine, when histamine comes, histamine is a paracrine. It acts on the adjacent cells. It is not a hormone, but gastrin is a hormone. It comes in the blood, okay, and from blood it binds to the its specific receptor on the parietal cell, and then it acts. So when gastrin acts on the parietal cell, it leads to increased HCl secretion. This is the one important point. Second important point is when paracrine, that is when histamine being released by the enterochromatin-like cell, that is when ECL cells produce histamine, histamine binds with the histaminergic receptors, H2 receptors on the parietal cell, and it leads to increased HCl secretion. Okay, it causes stimulation of the pump, proton pump, and it causes more HCl secretion. Similarly, the neural regulation that we studied, when there is parasympathetic stimulation, it acts through the vagus nerve, and vagus nerve it it does acetylcholine to the acetylcholine to it also leads to stimulus. What are they? Stimulus, that is the vagus nerve on the parasympathetic stimulation through the muscarinic receptor. Another is paracrine, that is another is three mean and vagus nerve parasympathetic stimulus, parasympathetic stimulation. So these things, what do? They cause production of the hydrochloric acid. They stimulate proton pump and thus lead to increased HCl secretion. And these things are stimulatory, so there might be something which also causes inhibition or decrease in the HCl secretion, isn't it? So there is a cell in the stomach called D cells. D cells produce, you can see on the right hand, D cells they produce on the side. It's present in the blood. When somatostatin, so histamine inhibition on the frontal or directly on the parietal cell and cause there is increase of somatostatin. Of the HCl secretion. Regulation of HCl secretion is mainly by neural and hormonal mechanisms. Okay, neural mechanism by the autonomic nerves, that is the parasympathetic, that is vagus nerve. When vagus nerve is when parasympathetic stimulation is nerve releases acetylcholine, and through muscarinic receptor it causes increased okay, and at the same time like cells. Okay, receptor. Okay, and this gas in the blood from HCl secretion. Similarly, ECL cells, that is enterochromatin-like cells, they produce through its H2 receptors on the parietal cell and leads to increase in HCl secretion. Okay, and the acetylcholine, that is parasympathetic stimulation by vagus. Acetylcholine, it also causes stimulation of the parietal cell and causes HCl, proton pump is stated, and HCl secretion is increased. Whereas if the somatostatin is produced in if there is somatostatin release, then somatostatin through its receptor on the parietal cell will decrease the production of HCl. Okay, so these are the stimulatory and inhibitory factors of HCl secretion. You can see here gastrin, histamine, proteins, acids. Okay, this is about the regulation of the gastric secretion. Now we have to know that there are various phases in which the gastric secretion occurs. So gastric secretion or the HCl secretion occurs mainly under three headings: cephalic phase, ocephalic phase, gastric phase, and intestinal phase. So what is cephalic phase? What happens is, if we see the food that we like, or if we think about the food that we like, or we smell the thing, smell the food that we like very much, or we have put the food that very much in our mouth, then what happens? It causes the stimulation of the center of in medulla oblongata. It causes vagus nerve stimulation. Okay, and because of the vagus nerve stimulation, the food is there in the mouth, in the oral cavity. It is being chewed. It is mastication process is occurring, but since the vagus nerve is already stimulated, it will cause gastric HCl secretion in the stomach. Though the food is in mouth, there will be HCl secretion in the stomach. Okay, that is called cephalic phase of HCl secretion. And gastric phase of HCl secretion means when food has actually reached the when food has actually reached the stomach, at that time, the presence of food in the stomach causes increased production of HCl. So the presence of food in the stomach causing increased production of HCl is known as gastric phase of HCl secretion, and known as intestinal phase. What happens is the food has reached the intestine, small intestine, duodenum, okay, but still the food has reached the small intestine, but still some amount of HCl is still being produced. That is known as intestinal phase. Okay, so when you are asked in exam about HCl secretion, be careful with this question because many times,
Ma'am,
yes,
ma'am,
yes,
audio is not clear.
yes.
Please
Okay,
check the
which one is not clear?
audio
Yeah,
is
yeah.
not clear.
Okay,
And ma'am, can you please
which portion
maximize
do
the
you?
slide?
This is the maximum.
It's
Yes.
not so clear.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. I'll put the clear one. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Is this the clear one? Is this the clear?
Yes,
And
ma'am.
are you able to hear me now? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So we are talking mainly about HCl secretion. Okay. We have to know what is the question. Okay. Whether it is how HCl is secreted, or um, how HCl secretion is regulated. We have to be clear in mind because it has to be answered separately. No. So for HCl secretion, we have this right portion slide. Are you able to see the slide? It is written mechanism for pepsin secretion, but that holds true only for the left hand side, isn't it? You will be asked mechanism for HCl secretion, okay, and that is on the right side. I hope it is clear.
Yes, ma'am.
So this the right portion of this is important for you. Lumen means it is the stomach. Bloodstream means capillaries. Okay, bloodstream. So focus here. This is the proton pump. Hydrogen, potassium, ATP is. So for question where HCl, which talks about HCl secretion, we have to write this. We have to draw this diagram. We have to explain that inside the parietal cell or the oxyntic cell, this is the reaction going on. Water plus carbon dioxide in presence of carbonic anhydrous carbonic acid is produced, which splits into proton and bicarbonate. Proton is pumped by proton pump with the expenditure of ATP. That's why it is called proton pump or hydrogen potassium ATPase, and hydrogen comes to the lumen. Okay. At the same time, for each molecule of proton that is being produced in the lumen, at the same time, one molecule of bicarbonate is being secreted in the bloodstream as well. Okay. So the time when HCl is being secreted in the lumen of the stomach, at the same time, there is rise in the bicarbonate level in the blood, which is known as postprandial alkaline tide. That means after taking food. Postprandial means after taking food. Alkaline tide means there is rise in bicarbonate level in the blood. Okay. So this question is often asked. I hope this is clear for you. But at the same time, when you are explaining this, you have to also write that HCl is being secreted in the stomach. First phase is cephalic phase, second phase is gastric phase, third phase is intestinal phase. Okay, cephalic phase, the word cephalic means something related with the brain, isn't it? So that means when food is in, when we have the thought of food or sight of food, or when we smell the food that we like, or when we have put the food in our mouth, the food that we like so much, then what happens? Our brain, the vagus nerve gets activated. The center responsible is present in the medulla oblongata. Okay, so it causes the activation of the vagus nerve. Vagus nerve activation leads to increased HCl secretion in the stomach. So see the irony. The food is still in the oral cavity, being chewed, but the vagus nerve has caused stimulation of the HCl secretion in the stomach. So HCl is already being released, isn't it? So this phase of HCl secretion is known as cephalic phase of HCl secretion. Then comes the gastric phase of HCl secretion. That means, as the word itself tells you, gastric phase means now the food is in the stomach. The presence of food in the stomach, the presence of food in the stomach leads to HCl secretion. That is known as gastric phase of HCl secretion. And later on, when the food passes to the small intestine, then also there is some amount of HCl secretion that is going on. That is known as HCl secretion, isn't it? So there are three phases of HCl secretion. That is what is written here. This is not very clear, but you can make out that this is the cephalic phase, the gastric phase, and the intestinal phase. So when we are asked about HCl secretion, we are supposed to write how HCl is secreted. We are supposed to write this right portion of the slide. Okay, and then we have to talk about the cephalic phase, gastric phase, and intestinal phase. Then another favorite question of your examiners is regarding the regulation of HCl secretion. For that, you have to say there are two ways of regulation. One is the neural control, that is by control of the nervous system. Okay, controlled by the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. And another is hormonal, that is you have to talk about histamine, which is a paracrine, not a hormone. Then you have to talk about gastrin. Then you have to talk about somatostatin, which is a hormone. So somatostatin, which is being produced by the B cells, okay, it causes inhibition of the HCl secretion. Then there is gastrin, which causes activation of the HCl secretion. That means more of the acid is being produced. Similarly, there is when ECL cells are stimulated, then histamine is produced. So if there is histamine also causes HCl secretion. And vagus nerve stimulation, parasympathetic nervous system stimulation, it also causes HCl secretion. So main thing you need to remember is the proton pump, it gets stimulated in presence of gastrin, histamine, and acetylcholine. Gastrin, histamine, and acetylcholine. Whereas it is inhibited in presence of somatostatin. So this tells you about the regulation of the gastric acid secretion. Okay, I hope you remember this slide we talked about last time. This is regarding the gastric mucus bicarbonate barrier. This is the answer to the question that why our stomach is not being auto-digested even though HCl is being secreted. The reason is the mucus layer, there is mucus cells present which produce mucin, and it also produces bicarbonate. Okay, mucus layer contains the mucus layer, then there is bicarbonate layer, and please add here trefoil peptide, TREFOIL, trefoil peptide. This is also very important protein. Trefoil peptide also provides protection against the acid HCl that is being secreted. Okay, and then we'll talk about how gastric emptying occurs. pancreatic secretion. Okay. So pancreatic secretion occurs by, it occurs in the pancreas, isn't it? Pancreas consists of a ductal system, isn't it? They are intercalated ducts, they are striated ducts, isn't it? So what we're now is, first before that we'll talk a little bit about gastric emptying, because now the food has reached the stomach. It is being mixed by the HCl, the gastric juice. Okay, when gastric juice mixes with the food properly, what happens is gastric sphincter is closed and the food is churned. It is much like a case of juicer mixer grinder. Okay, there is mixing of the bolus gets churned and mixed in such a way that the surface area of the food is increased for the secretions to act on it. Okay, for the HCl and the pepsin to act on it. Okay, what happens is once the lower esophageal sphincter is closed and the food reaches the stomach, and from parietal cell, HCl is secreted, intrinsic factor is secreted, pepsinogen is secreted, all these things, then the pyloric sphincter at that time is not open, it is closed. And as the stomach gets filled, the function of stomach is to act as a reservoir of food. Okay, so and when the food is present in the stomach, the motility of the stomach is such that both the sphincters are closed. Okay, and the wave of the movement occurs from the lower esophageal sphincter towards the pyloric sphincter, and then again it goes from pyloric sphincter to lower esophageal sphincter. That is known as retropulsion. Retropulsion. This is a type of typical motility pattern of the stomach. That's how the churning of the food is possible. Okay, then the food, which is in the form of bolus, gets completely broken down into minute particles, minute pieces, and it is mixed with the HCl secretion, hydrochloric acid, intrinsic factor, and pepsin, pepsinogen, which has now converted into pepsin in presence of HCl. So now this semi-solid content is known as chyme, chyme, chyme. And then what happens is the pyloric sphincter, when the entire food content of the stomach is thoroughly mixed with the gastric juice and is converted into chyme, then gradually the pyloric sphincter opens and food enters duodenum drop by drop. It is not that the entire content of the stomach will go immediately into the duodenum, in the small intestine. It will go drop by drop. Why? Because if it goes drop by drop, uh, the duodenum, there will be enough time for the enzymes that are present in the secretions, in the pancreatic secretions, small intestinal secretions that will come there to act. Okay, so it is a process which occurs in a drop by drop. The food from stomach goes into the duodenum. Okay, so what happens? What are the factors which control the gastric emptying? We need to study. Okay, so the control of gastric emptying, it consists of these factors. In small intestine, whether there is increased acidity, whether there is increased fat content, or whether the solution that is there in the small intestine is hypertonic. The tonicity is in comparison to plasma. Okay, if it is hypertonic, then it will secrete hormones to be produced, that is cholecystokinin and the secretin. Okay, it will stimulate the neural receptors. If there is distension in the small intestine, so these are the factors which affect the gastric emptying. Okay, so if there is increased acidity, in increased acid content in the food that is entering the small intestine, or if there is increased fat content of the food, if there is hypertonic solutions in the food, okay, or if there is too much of the food and the small intestine is distended, then these things will lead to stimulation of the neural receptors and also the secretion of enterogastrones. These enterogastrones are nothing but CCK and secretin. Okay, CCK is cholecystokinin and secretin. So these are the hormones. So they will be increased in blood. They will not go into the lumen, but they will go into blood. And then they will act on the cells and they will cause they will decrease the gastric emptying time. They will um, they will decrease the gastric emptying time. That means the food will go fast from stomach, will move fast from stomach to the duodenum. Okay. Then there are short neural reflexes of the enteric neurons, and there are long neural reflexes. Okay. Short neural reflexes occur via enteric neurons. That means we are talking myenteric and sympathetic discharge. So if there is increased sympathetic discharge, if there is increased sympathetic drive, that will lead to decreased gastric emptying. But if there is decreased, um, but if a person is in rest and digest mode, when there is parasympathetic stimulation, gastric emptying will be fast. Okay, so this slide is very important for gastric emptying. This is also very important question of your examiners. I'll show this one as VIP. Gastric emptying, factors that are involved in gastric emptying. Are you able to follow this much, class? Yes, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. So keep it up to here. It's 43.